from the outside, but from within. That the real enemy isn't your circumstances, your past, or the people who doubted you. It's the thoughts you let crawl into your mind and take root. You feel tired, overwhelmed, unmotivated. But have you ever stopped to ask why? Why do you keep doubting yourself, even when you know you're capable of more? Why do your own thoughts tear you down instead of lifting you up? This isn't just overthinking. It's a war of perception, and most people are losing because they don't even realize they're fighting. The truth is, negative thinking doesn't just weigh on your mood. It burns through your purpose, tears at your discipline, and paralyzes your will. But what if there were ancient laws, ruthless, tested, and rooted in Stoic philosophy, that could silence that inner chaos and rebuild your mind into something unshakable? Stay with me, because today we're not sugarcoating anything. We're cutting to the truth, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you're ready to stop letting fear and doubt control the narrative and start building a life of clarity, strength, and self-mastery, please subscribe for the version of you that's waiting to be claimed. Law 1. Attack the root, not the symptom. Most people live inside a noisy head without even realizing it. Their minds are full of little fires, anxious thoughts, restless worries, sharp bursts of self-doubt, and they spend every day putting them out one by one. But here's the catch. No matter how many times you stomp them out, they come back. Why? Because you're treating symptoms, not sources. You're busy calming the noise, but you're not asking where it's coming from. Stoicism teaches us that the mind is not a random storm, it's a pattern. And when we don't examine that pattern, we suffer the same mental attacks over and over again. This is where real self-mastery begins, not by reacting, but by investigating. It means getting honest about what's underneath the thought, the fear, the story, the wound. Let's say your mind keeps whispering, "You're falling behind." Most people will try to distract themselves, scrolling, eating, rushing into busy work. But the Stoic takes a breath and digs deeper. Am I really behind? Or am I comparing myself to someone who doesn't even live my life? Or maybe I'm tying my worth to someone else's timeline. These aren't just thoughts, they're roots. And if you don't deal with them, they grow back stronger. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But your reaction isn't just emotional, it's also habitual, and habits come from roots. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That line hits hard, because most of our suffering doesn't come from the world. It comes from the stuff inside us that we never look at. That fear of judgment you carry, that's not just a personality trait, that's a root. It probably started years ago, maybe even in childhood. The moment you felt that being yourself wasn't enough. And now, every decision you make, what you say, what you wear, what you hide, is shaped by that root. The Stoic doesn't ignore this. They don't cover it up with fake positivity. They confront it, not because they're fearless, but because they know fear grows stronger in silence. Every negative thought is a flare. It wants your attention, not so you'll panic, but so you'll investigate. Because once you understand where a thought is coming from, you can challenge it. You can talk back to it. You can change the behavior that feeds it. Think about it. If you walk into your house and see water on the floor, do you just mop it up every day? Or do you go find the leak and fix it? That's what this law is about. Fixing the leak. Facing the thing you've been avoiding. Here's the beautiful part. When you stop swatting at symptoms and start cutting the root, everything changes. Your anxiety doesn't own you. Your doubt doesn't paralyze you. Your sadness doesn't spiral into shame. Why? Because you've seen where it lives, and once you see the root, it loses its power. You can decide what to do with it. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." He's not denying that pain exists. He's saying most of our suffering is a loop we create by avoiding the real source. That's what cutting the root prevents. It breaks the loop. Let's make this real. Next time you feel overwhelmed, instead of saying, "I can't handle this," say, "What exactly am I afraid of?" Get specific. Are you afraid you'll disappoint someone? That you'll fail publicly? That you'll waste your time? Write it down, then go one step deeper. Why would that outcome hurt you so much? What belief do you have about yourself that's making that fear feel bigger than it is? That's where the root lives. And once you name it, you can decide, does this belief belong here? Or is it time to let it go? This isn't always comfortable. In fact, it rarely is. Facing the truth never is. But discomfort is not your enemy. It's your guide. That edge you feel when you dig deeper, that's where freedom starts. And this isn't just about fixing problems. It's about reclaiming power. The power to respond rather than react. The power to choose clarity over confusion. The power to act, even when your mind wants to run. You don't need more distractions. You don't need more motivation posters. You need precision. You need to look your fear in the face and say, "I see you. I know where you came from, but you don't drive anymore." That's Stoicism. That's self-leadership. And once you start living like that, cutting the root instead of trimming the leaves, you stop being at the mercy of your thoughts. You become the one in charge. Law 2. Control the frame, or be controlled by it. Sometimes life throws something at you that stops you in your tracks. Maybe you get rejected. Maybe a plan falls apart. Maybe someone you trusted walks away. And instantly your mind rushes in to explain what just happened. But here's the catch: how you explain it to yourself is everything. Because your brain isn't just recording the event, it's assigning meaning to it. And that meaning becomes your reality. The Stoics knew this deeply. They understood that pain, failure, and discomfort are unavoidable, but suffering is optional. That's the difference between what happens to you and what you tell yourself about what happened. Let's say you lose a job. Some people spiral. They tell themselves, "I failed. I'm not good enough. I'll never bounce back." But someone else, same job loss, might say, "Maybe this was the push I needed. Now I can finally pursue something that actually matters to me." Same event, different frame. And that frame changes everything. Epictetus once said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." He's not sugarcoating anything. He's reminding you that the story you attach to the moment holds more power than the moment itself. You ever notice how some people seem unshaken by chaos? It's not that they don't feel anything. It's that they've trained their minds to reframe faster. When something goes wrong, they don't fall into despair. They pause, they pivot, they ask better questions. That's what Stoicism teaches. Not to pretend life doesn't hurt, but to choose a response that strengthens you instead of breaking you. So the next time life hits you with something unexpected, try this. Instead of saying, "This isn't fair," say, "What can I learn here?" Instead of, "I can't handle this," ask, "What part of me is being tested right now?" The moment you ask a stronger question, you build a stronger mind. Carl Jung put it this way: "It all depends on how we look at things and not how they are in themselves." That's a deep truth, because so much of what we call reality is just our mental interpretation of it. We think we're seeing the world clearly, but often we're just seeing it through old wounds, fears, expectations. Your perception becomes your prison or your power. If your inner voice is always framing things as personal attacks, failures, or setbacks, then of course life will feel heavy. But when your mind starts to say, this is a challenge, or this is part of the process, or even this is training, then you step into ownership. You begin to control the frame rather than be controlled by it. It crumbles, but not you, not anymore. You're here because you want sovereignty. You want to train your mind, not just to survive difficulty, but to lead through it. That begins with catching the moment your inner dialogue kicks in and choosing a better story. Let's get practical. Say someone criticizes your work. Your first instinct might be to take it personally. They don't respect me. I must not be good enough. But step back. Control the frame. This is feedback. I'm being sharpened, or you get ghosted by someone you care about. Your mind might want to spiral. I must be unlovable. Catch it. Flip it. That says more about their clarity than my worth. The facts don't change, but the emotional weight does. You lighten the load by choosing a frame that's rooted in growth, not defeat. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's what framing is. It's reminding yourself that no matter what happens out there, you still control what happens in here, your thoughts, your meanings, your reactions. You can't always change the external, but you always have the power to change the lens through which you interpret it. That's where your freedom lives. And listen, this isn't about fake positivity. This isn't about pretending life is easy or pretending you're never hurt. This is about clarity, because once you realize that your story determines your strength, you stop playing the victim and start shaping your own reality. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, how can I use this? And that single shift, that can change your entire direction. Think about the last time something knocked you down. Not just what happened, but what you told yourself about it. That story shaped how you felt, how you acted, what you did next. So what if you chose a new story? What if you made that your daily practice? Wake up, something annoys you. You pause and say, this is my patience workout. Someone rejects you. This is teaching me to validate myself. You fail at something. This is fuel for refinement. The more you do this, the more your mind becomes a tool for strength instead of a trap for stress. The world is going to test you. That's not a question. The question is, will you let every setback define you, or will you learn how to define the setback? Will you let life control your frame, or will you take the frame into your own hands and bend it toward meaning, toward discipline, toward resilience? Law 3. Build a mind that's a fortress, not a doorway. Most people don't realize how exposed their minds are. They wake up and instantly check their phones. They scroll, they react, they absorb. Opinions, criticisms, bad news, reminders of what they're not doing. Without even noticing, they're letting every outside voice walk straight into their thoughts and rearrange the furniture. And after a few hours, they wonder why they feel drained, anxious, scattered. But here's the truth. Your mind isn't supposed to be a hallway with open doors. It's meant to be a fortress. Stoicism teaches us that what enters your mind determines how you live your life. And if you don't control the gates, someone else will. Think about it. If you owned a castle, would you let just anyone walk in? Would you let a stranger wander through your rooms, shout insults, break your windows and leave? Of course not. But that's exactly what we do with our thoughts. Someone says something offhand, and we carry it all day. One bad outcome, and we spiral into worst-case scenarios. We don't question the thought, we just believe it. We hand it a seat at the table. This is why the idea of a fortress mind matters, because the world is full of noise, some of it subtle, some of it's loud. But all of it is trying to influence you. Advertising, social media, the expectations of others, your own inner critic, They all want in, and if your mental walls are weak, they'll get in. But when your mind becomes a fortress, you start filtering. You don't believe every negative thought just because it shows up. You don't accept every opinion just because it's loud. You stop being reactive. You start being selective. And that's where every thought that appears, you get to question it. You get to decide whether it serves you. You get to respond instead of react. But that only happens when you build walls, not to block out life, but to protect your clarity, your focus, your peace.